What's good, fellas? We averaged less than 7 points in the first half of all of our games last season. Most, do you believe that will be better? I know how Mr. 30 and 10 feels. LOL, appreciate the work. It has to be better. I mean,
wait, and I'm gonna actually put the Steelers Day 1 OTA thing up there because I feel like we're talking about it anyways, man.
Sure.
We won't have to wait and do all this pleasantries and formalities, man. We'll let it happen organically, and then Deke can do all the editing on the back end because he's a cool guy.
Works for me.
But do I feel like we'll be able to average more than 7 points? Or essentially more than 7 points because we were averaging less than 7 points in the first half. I definitely do. 100%. Just from the way that these guys have been operating, and I'm talking about the quarterbacks right here. I do think that we will be able to because they're doing enough early on that shows me we'll be able to keep our offense on pace. Some of the things that I want to see more from the group are a little bit more downfield, stretching it out plays. But in terms of the pace in which the offense is operating with, not just in the running game, but even in the passing game, some of the movement of the pocket and stuff as well, I do think is going to give them an advantage early on in games. Whereas I thought last year it was more so we're kind of figuring out what our attack is, who we are that week, because we said like some weeks we come out, it's like we want to throw the ball every time. Other weeks we come out, it's like we want to have 2 tight ends. And we just never really had a rhythm. And then it was like we have to wait. Oh, now in the second half, now we can figure out something and go. I think the way that they're setting up the offense right now is to be more of a physical unit, more playing through Najee run first from what I've been seeing, more of that run first action, but it's setting up things off of the pass. And the way that these quarterbacks are processing and reading it, I think early on in games that can work. And this is without without Deontay, because that's the other part of it. You know what I mean? So it's like when you throw him in that equation, I think that's a whole nother dynamic right now because I'm watching and I'm like, yo, this is still good, but we're missing a piece. So imagine when that piece is back out there, what this really could look like even more so. So I do think that we'll be able to start these games at a lot just better clip, 100%, man, because I think that, not trying to be funny, but just from the quarterback's perspective, I just think that it's the way that they're going to be running certain routes for these guys is going to be geared for them to be successful and on schedule. Because that's the thing that you can just see with Matt Canada, how he's working with these quarterbacks early on. Timing. Get that ball out when it's supposed to go out. And for those that saw the video today, man, I was talking about the quarterbacks and I was saying how, to me, I thought that Mitch, these first 2 days, has kind of put himself in that front runner spot. And it's not that Mason or Kenny are playing bad. I just think that, to me, Mitch just looks the most comfortable out there. When you're talking about commanding an offense, like, he commands it. Whether we're talking walkthroughs, whether we're talking getting onto the field, staying afterwards, interacting with the guys, he's the leader. And it's like, it shows. But we anticipated that because he's the veteran of the group. He's the oldest player in the sense of football years, right? Already started multiple years in Chicago, has a Pro Bowl under his belt. So that does show. I also think that in terms of just him processing defenses, I think, to me, he's doing it at a faster rate than Kenny and Mason. But we kind of anticipated that when we brought him in, especially him versus Mason, because we're like, you know what? Yes, even though we think they're very similar in some capacities, we kind of leaned a little bit more him. And I can understand why. As I'm seeing him, I don't think that his arm is any more or less gifted than Kenny or Mason. I just think from when I'm watching him, though, the way that whether he's turning his back on a play action pass, when he flips his head around, he knows his read. He knows, okay, I'm looking here first. If that's not here, I'm going here. And some might say you're settling, but to me, I look at it as he's keeping the offense on rhythm. He's keeping everything in pace instead of him trying to, you know what, let me hold it. Let me try to make something special happen and get yourself into trouble. I think that for me, Trubisky is just the most under control in a sense. Whereas when I watch Kenny, I think Kenny is the most athletic. Definitely. I'm watching him.
4.7 showing.
Oh, stop it, man. I am not going there with this 4.7 nonsense. But you see him, like, his athletic ability really shows on some of these rollouts. You're watching him roll out versus Mason versus Trubisky, and it's like, That's the athlete. He's definitely the best athlete of the group in terms
And we thought Trubisky's athletic though too.
Well, no, and that's the thing. Trubisky definitely is, but Kenny's athleticism to me has shown the most. I also think that Kenny has a lot more zip on his ball in person than when I'm watching it on film. Some of his throws I like. I'm like, and that's one of the videos I sent you. You can see the zip on. He has a nice pop, a nice tight spiral. I just think early on, and this is 2 days in. Just remember, we have this 2 days in. I just think it's taking him a little bit longer to process the defense. So sometimes he's getting in trouble holding that ball. And now it's like, all right, this isn't college where you're going to be able to just extend. It's a lot more speed out there. And that's kind of where he's gotten in trouble. Like I said, it's 2 days in though. And the more he sees, the better he's going to get. So I think for him, I'm changing my expectations from him trying to beat out Trubisky now to him just understand and grasp the playbook now. Training camp is going to be for real where I think he can try to make a move. Because I think right now, as I'm watching Trubisky, it looks like a guy who knows football, which it should be at the NFL level because there is a difference in the concepts, not just offensively, but defensively. And I just think that that's why Trubisky, to me, is a little bit ahead. Whereas, like I said, for Kenny, I just think that he has to just see it more. The more he sees it, because the athletic ability is there. The zip on the passes is there. He still got them gloves on, but I ain't tripping. You know what I mean? He got them gloves. It's all good. But
do I need to give you a package of hand stents to give to him down there? Make sure he doesn't forget.
No. Hey, he rolled with them gloves, so it's all good.
Tell him to make sure he takes it daily.
So it's all good, man. It is all good. And then in terms of Mason, and I know I did not speak about him in the video, and it wasn't by like intention. It was just I kind of forgot. But the thing with Mason that I've noticed that is positive, and then I'll talk about some of the negatives with him. The positive is he still has his confidence out there. I think that he's throwing a good ball as well. I think that the big hiccup between him versus Mitch is just playing faster. So when you're talking about the quarterback position, yeah, you can still make the same read. Yeah, you can still make the same throw, but there's a difference if you're making this read a half a step sooner and I'm getting you that ball, that receiver a ball a half a step sooner in that first window versus you waiting and now you got to hit the next window. That's the biggest difference right now for me when I'm watching Mitch versus Mason. I think both of them are still throwing the ball well. I think both of them are moving well. Mason is definitely the third in terms of athletic ability, though. I probably have it Kenny, Mitch, and then Mason in terms of how I'm looking at them dudes. But to me, Mason still throws a awesome ball. Like, without a doubt, I like that part of it. I just think that he's a half a step behind when I'm watching him process plays in contrast to Mitch. And that's the part for me. If you're Mason, you're not trying to necessarily out-athlete Kenny because you're not going to do that. You're going to have to win with this and how you throw that rock. That's the Trubisky part. And right now, I just don't think that Mason is at Mitch's level mentally just yet. Now, it could happen over these next couple of weeks, and that's why I'm interested to see how that plays out. But my initial thoughts of these first couple of practices were that my man Mason is just a little bit slower processing it in contrast to Mitch. But it shouldn't be too big of a surprise either when you're still talking about guys having more football experience than other. Mason doesn't have as much in-game reps as Trubisky does. And that's the part that shows. Now, for some guys, they pick it up faster. We talked about TJ Watt early on, man. We knew it's like, yo, this dude's ready to go. It's not taking that long. Najee, early on, you knew, yo, it's not taking that long. Other guys, it's like, all right, it might take a little bit longer to develop. Not saying that it still can't happen, but it just takes a little bit longer. And I think that's what...
especially for quarterbacks,
right,
too.
Yeah, definitely for the quarterbacks, 100%. And it's one of those things, you have to be out there getting those reps to actually improve in that capacity. And I do think that it is fun, and I think it's helpful for these guys that it is an open competition because they all three are getting legitimate reps, which is in the past that was not the case. But it never needed to be the case because you had 7. So now seeing that, I'm like, okay, this is definitely a good situation right here. I like this a lot, man. And I just think as a whole, and this is what we've said early on anyways, with competition, man, we're just going to feel more confident about whoever wins it. We're going to feel that much more confident about those guys going forward because we know what they had to overcome. But a couple days in, the way I have it right now, I'm leaning. I probably go Trubisky. I'm definitely not leaning. I'm definitely Trubisky at 1. I probably have Mason 2 just because of, like I said, I think mentally he's still ahead of Kenny. Kenny's at 3 right now for me. But I think Kenny's far and away the best athlete. I just think that he has to mentally catch up to what he's seeing out there. And yeah, just give him some time.
Makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah.
Whenever I saw the quarterback hierarchy, because it's out on Twitter that Mitch was taking the reps first, and then it was Mason, then it was Pickett. I just thought, dude, it's early. It's really early. And you're hearing some stuff. I mean, you even told me, yeah, Mitch looks pretty good out there. Yeah. But everything you said about Mitch looking good versus Pickett and Mason makes sense because you're right. He has, 4 years starting experience with the Bears. And correct me if I'm wrong, it was kind of a similar offense to this, where he's doing read options, he's rolling out. And then he also got his stint up with Buffalo, so I'm sure he's learning a lot up there. Little Josh Allen effect rubbing off on him. And then Pickett's a rookie. Mitch, he has all that. And then we sign him in March. Yeah. He had how much more time? A month and a half extra over even Pickett with the playbook. And Mason just hasn't had that type of experience that Mitch has had. So I think it all makes sense. It's early, and we're going to see the real competition in training camp. Because whenever I heard an interview with Tomlin, he doubled down on that. Because someone was trying to ask him, try to bait him on saying which quarterback's leading or whatnot. He's like, no, we're just learning, we're just teaching, and then we'll worry about training camp for the real competition.
Well, and I do think that, and that's what I'm glad that he said that. I'm glad that you reiterated that, because to me, the information that I'm giving you guys, understand, it's still very valid and it's still very credible, but this is just a portion of the journey. This is the next phase. You know what I mean? Okay, we're getting to see these guys on the field now. No more speculating about a guy being fast or what he did elsewhere. It's okay, we get to see him. We get to see these guys match up against our defense at times. And even though we know it's not the full go in terms of 100% pads, you got to worry about getting sacked or hit and things like that, you're still able to pick up on certain elements of it. And that's the stuff that when we're talking about the quarterbacks, that's what I'm looking at. How do you read? How fast are you processing? And where's your ball placement at? Yesterday, there was a pick. There was an interception. I didn't think it was on the quarterback because it happened to hit the receiver in the face mask. Okay.
I don't want to say anything. I was going to say someone's not there. I don't know who it is. So I'm clueless right now. It could be anyone.
We'll put it like this.
You don't have to say anything.
Well, no. What I'll say is this. It was a new guy that caught the interception, though. Kazi. He's the one who caught it. I promise, watching it happen.
He has a knack for the ball.
Watching it happen, I looked over to my dude that I was with, and I said, bro, you cut his tape on, it looked just like every other interception he's had.
Right.
He's just in the right place, right time. I'm talking the ball. It was on a rope. It kind of looked like the vid I sent you. It was on a rope. In fact, think just like the video I sent you. Identical. Think exactly like that video.
Oh, wow.
Except instead of it being a completion, it's a bink up. Oh, yeah.
So that doesn't count.
Yeah. So for me, I'm but that's still a good play for the quarterback. I'm not worried about drops. I'm not worried about balls that are getting tipped off of a guy. You know what I mean? That's going to happen. I'm more worried about you reading it and you putting that ball where it needs to be. If it's cover 3, where are you going with it? If it's cover 4, where are you going with it? They haven't seen all the other coverages just yet. It's only 2 days install. You know what I mean? So it's general coverage is what you're facing. They're window dressing a little bit, but nothing over the top just yet. So it's you should be able to know, okay, as soon as I get back from my fake or whatever it is, what's this corner doing? What's this safety doing? What's this linebacker doing? All right, let's roll.